I'm Monica Levinson, TV and film producer and vice president and board member of Women in Film. I'm pleased to introduce our guests today for this FYC conversation, Jen Flanz and Desi Lydic of The Daily Show. Jen is the show's longtime executive producer and showrunner. She started as a PA, incredible, and has since become one of the most decorated forces in late night with multiple Emmy wins. Desi's a correspondent and rotating host who's become one of the show's most versatile voices, from field pieces to headlining her own Emmy-winning format, Desi Lydic Fox Flames and the Diplomatic Immunity Specials. Together, they represent the engine room and the on-camera talent behind a show that's up for Emmy nominations this year, spanning variety series, picture editing, and technical direction. Jen and Desi, it's great to be able to chat with you today. I've already been fangirling before this, so
and vice versa.
yeah,
Right back at you.
so happy to have you. So Jen, you've been with this show since the Craig Kilborn days, working your way from PA to showrunner, which is the total dream, and insane. And I can't even believe that happened.
I know. Same.
Yeah, what's the through line you've tried to protect across every era, Stuart, Wilmore, and the now rotating host format?
I would say there are two through lines. There's like my personal through line, and then there's like the show through line. And personally, I just think that if you're working hard at the job you have and you keep your nose to the grindstone and just keep doing that well, people notice and you get moved up and move it up. And I think that I just, I love what we do. And so working hard is very easy there. And yeah, I think just being able to look yourself in the mirror every day and be like, I was the best version and nicest version of myself that I could have been today. Not perfect every day, but I can go to bed at night thinking you did okay. And then on a show level, I think the through line is honesty with the audience and really making sure that we are not misleading anyone, making sure we're fact checking and that we're putting comedy first. And it is ultimately at the end of the day a comedy show, but we are, don't want to be the people spreading misinformation. So everything that's a joke is a clear joke, and everything that is not a joke has been fact checked and can be backed up. And that's basically the through lines I tried to keep over the years.
Can I brag about Jen for a second?
Please.
So, all right, let me get in here. I got some stuff to say.
I was like, you're going to say Desi and I don't like each other at all. We fight all the time.
Good.
I just want to say there's something that John talks about often that I think Jen does beautifully, and that is having clarity and vision for the show and having a flexibility in process. And over the last 30 years, the show has evolved so much. I mean, the times have evolved, the industry has changed, the way that people are watching our quote unquote content now is different, and engaging with our audience is different. And Jen has been so strategic in maintaining, I think, the DNA of the show always, and being fiercely protective over that while still having the flexibility to evolve with the times. And I think that's a skill set that's really, really rare these days. And then I want to say one more thing. And that is that the fact that Jen has worked in so many different departments gives her a full understanding of what the staff goes through and how the show gets put together. And I think she has a unique perspective and a unique way of relating to all the different department heads and everyone's individual jobs and how it affects the show. So that's another thing I appreciate about it.
Thank you so much.
I so agree with that. I think it's really important to have lived in those roles, in all those roles, to really understand how to manage and to make sure that you're serving everybody the way that you need to, and also that they're serving you the way that you need to.
It is the way you both know what everybody should kind of be doing. And I couldn't do everyone's jobs, but I know what they're all supposed to do. it's both the way you know if they're doing it and also that you know if they're doing
Exactly. Well, Desi, you wear a lot of hats also as correspondent and then now Fox Flames host and diplomatic community host and rotating anchor. So, how do you decide which version of yourself to show up for which format?
Oh boy, yeah, I suppose I have multiple alter egos that come into play. It's sort of my mental state to begin with, so it comes very easily to me. No, I think, gosh, I've now been at the show for 11 years, which is
crazy.
insane. And I pinch myself constantly thinking about how lucky I am to even be employed for this amount of time, let alone the same job. And it's never been the same job. So I think like just when I start to get comfortable going like, okay, I think I've got this correspondent thing. And if I start to go on cruise control for a bit, there's some other new challenge around the corner that I can like roll up my sleeves and dig into, and it keeps things really exciting. We're not just keeping up with the news of the day, but we all get to wear all these different hats, and to be at the desk was a whole new thing for me because I was so accustomed to being in character. Even though it's my name, I was the character of the correspondent, and I could be very arch and kind of go balls to the wall with the perspective. And then sitting at the desk, there's a different authenticity and vulnerability to that, which I found really exciting and also incredibly challenging. Um, and then Fox Plains to get to go off the rails as though I'm a relative that watches Fox Plains all the time. That's its own challenge. But throughout each hat that I get to wear, I feel really lucky that I'm surrounded by such a strong team that if I'm going to take a big swing and try something new, I know that I've got the safety net of everyone else around me being really good at their jobs. So that helps.
Yeah. Well, it really
It,
speaks to you as a performer. So it's hats off to
yeah, it's like the Fox Flames character is I love doing a show with you at the desk because it's so fun for us to like work and
you.
write and produce those shows. But watching you as a viewer do Fox Flames, her acting is
Oh,
so it's so good, and it gives you a chance to flex that muscle, which you're not doing in the hosting chair anymore. And I
yeah.
love watching it
Right.
Thank you for
as
Right.
saying that.
a fan.
Thank
Yes, me
you.
too. Well, we've talked about the crew, but it's been an especially strong award season for the show and nominations spanning variety series, editing, technical direction. What does that range of recognition say about how the show actually gets made week to week?
I think that we have a really tight staff and crew, and it's so nice to be nominated. I will say there are people who aren't even their titles aren't Emmy eligible, or there are positions that weren't nominated just because it's a
Right.
smaller category this year and things. And so I don't know what it says, because I just think so many of the people that we work with are so strong. I think it says that people are enjoying the show and watching it and thinking we do it at a really high professional level, which I'm super proud of. Um, but but yeah, I would say we like hold ourselves to a really high standard. So every day we're kind of challenging ourselves, and the nominations are amazing and nice. But I think that we're really like in the habit of just trying to up our game to keep it interesting for us.
Yeah. I think that when I first started at the show, the thing that stood out most to me as being so different from any other show that I'd ever worked on is that there's this sort of this openness for anyone to come in and pitch an idea. Anyone can have an idea. The funniest idea wins. You can be an intern, you can be a PA, you can be a writer, a studio producer. It doesn't matter. You're part of the conversation. And I think that that allows for such a safe environment for people to feel like they can speak up, and the show really benefits from that. I think having that collaboration, that like open collaboration among everyone between all of the departments just gives people the opportunity to do their best work.
Well, I mean, what we do is such a collaborative process. And so I do think that any nomination is a nomination for everybody.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
Yep.
it really is. So knowing something about how you guys work, there's always a writer's room but what's a recent decision that's something cut, reshaped, or fast-tracked that you think people would be surprised was a producing call rather than a writing one?
Oh, let's I know. I'm like anything that we cut.
I know it's all I just said it's all collaborative.
Okay, I will say this.
Okay.
Sometimes, and I literally erase the show from my brain every night, and like I wipe the hard drive because we have to make room for the next one. Also, we're on a break right now, so my memory of the last thing we cut, I cannot. But I can tell you that when we go into rehearsal, sometimes we've written far too much material for one show. And the producing comes in when you say, what is the material that we need to get on the show tonight? What can hold till tomorrow? And what might never see the light of day? Or like, do we do something with it on our digital platform? And that's a more of like a producing decision than necessarily like this joke didn't work in rehearsal or something. Like, so I mean, we joke about it. Some days in the morning we're like, okay, we can write all the ask Desi every morning in the conference room. I'm like, we can write all of those stories. I don't know why you guys want to write 10 more minutes of material, but if you'd like to, like, be my guest. And then we like, get downstairs to rehearsal and we're 7 minutes heavy. And it's like, guys, we only have a 24-minute show.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So I would say from a producing standpoint, it is like, it's not as, minutia as each joke. It's more like, can this entire thing come out? Will it hold? Will the other shows cover it tonight? Will it feel, I mean, in this news cycle, will it feel old tomorrow? Probably. But that's more where the producer, steps in.
Yeah, and Jen is so accustomed to seeing the signs early on. I'll come in and be in love with 4 stories and 4 jokes that came out of that first initial morning meeting because it made me laugh until I was crying. And then Jen's like, cool, but I can see that the through line isn't going to connect on the full show. So if you don't want to run 45 minutes behind and rewrite, then let's just go ahead and kill our darlings now. And that's something like
it's so true.
The rest of us have had to learn how to do.
We'll like laugh over a clip in the morning. We play a clip in the morning meeting and we'll all bounce jokes around the room. And then you're like, oh, that will start deciding what's going to be on the show. And we're like, oh, but that got so many jokes in the room. And it's like, I know, but it was about a guy in the background wearing a hat.
Right.
And we have like 50 other sound bites we have to put in to make this story work. So it's those moments where you're like, yes, those jokes were so funny.
But we're going to say goodbye to them.
Yeah, we're going to say goodbye.
What time do you guys start in the morning and what time do you have to put the show on air?
Some people start at like 8:30. Our group that gathers all the headlines footage and stuff, they start at 8:30. We start meeting at 9:15. Desi, myself, on her hosting days, insert host here. But 9:15, we start meeting with the head writer, Jubin, another co-EP, and a few others in a small room. Justin Melkman, who runs the team that is gathering all the footage, kind of runs through stories with us. We narrow it down from 40 stories to like 8 to 10.
Yeah.
And then we go into the big room with more writers and producers, and we watch those and see what gets some juice, we say. And then we decide what got juice, just because it was something that we had an inside joke about and which got juice because they were good to put on the show. And then we go back into, I say we move from big room to small room all day. We literally are like, then we go back into small room. Anyway.
What time do you start filming?
6.
We start 6. Yep. We rehearse
on a good day, 5:51, and on a bad day, 6:17.
Exactly. I was like, 6 is the sweet spot. That's what we're aiming for.
to do a show about news, that's something that's been done, and
Yeah.
everybody does that. And that's what the news stations are doing all day long, packaging their show. But then to have jokes and to make it funny, all in a day's work and not being able to go back and rewrite it the next day, it's a
Yeah.
massive feat. And
I think part of the magic is that we don't have time to go back and rewrite it the next day. Like the cutoffs and the deadlines are part of the magic of the Daily Show. It's like any sketch script we have in the works gets reworked for weeks, you know. But when you have a show and there's a live audience waiting there for you, and the longer they sit, the less they laugh, you got to go. And that is a kind of a gift, to be like, all right, we have a deadline, we got to get out there. Because, and Desi and I talk about this all the time. At some point, one word that we're all like, should it be they or should it be our? It's like it's not gonna matter to this audience. We just gotta go. So I think that deadline is helpful.
We are so much better for having those constraints.
So much better. And time constraint. You can only have 24 minutes. The best ones make it on.
That's right.
Cold room. Yes. And the cold room. Keeping that audience.
Cold room. Yes.
So
that too.
I'm going to ask the question that for this audience, I know it's probably an annoying question to you, Desi, but for this audience, I think it's appropriate. But what's different about being a woman doing political comedy now versus when you started in the writer's room, and how bits get greenlit and how you're received by audiences? And I know men don't get asked this question, so I ask that with that knowledge, but knowing our audience.
Excellent question. I would say, first and foremost, the amount of time spent in the hair and makeup chair I found to be jarringly different. That was when I first went down on my first day of hosting. I said, 15 minutes? This is what the boys get? We're going to have to make some adjustments here. So time in the hair and makeup chair, definitely first and foremost.
You joke, but that does factor into our days with you.
We did. We did change the schedule.
She has to double duty when the boys can just concentrate on their guest prep. Desi is getting her hair done while she's doing guest prep, because we can't make extra hours in the day. We just have to. Women have to double duty. Multitasking.
They have to install all the hair because I have about 3 hairs on my head. So, it's such a good question, and it's not something that I think about day in and day out. When I'm doing the show, it's not something that is consciously on my mind. All that I try to do is to go in and just make the funniest shows that I possibly can, and try to stay as true to my own point of view and perspective as I can. And so I'm sure being a woman factors into that. But in terms of like thinking about the job differently because I'm the woman in late night, like that doesn't, I'm not consciously thinking about that all the time.
You notice a difference from when you first started 11 years ago in the room versus today? I mean, obviously you have 11 years of experience behind you too, but do you think when you walk in the room versus maybe a new woman walks in the room, if you ever witness that, do you see any differences?
Any difference between from the time that I started
to when women are in the room now? Do you notice anything different?
I think I think since I've been at the show, it has always been a priority to have diversity in every room and to have female voices in the room. And it's easy to think about that like like we're checking a box because there have to be so many women in the room. And the truth is that by having such a wide range of perspectives, genders, races in the room, it just makes the show better. It's more people that we're able to connect with. There's more perspectives to be able to draw from. And I think that's probably, that has always been part of the makeup of the show since I started, but I would say as time has gone on, and now we have a variety of different hosts and different perspectives actually at the desk. So I'd
Yeah.
say that that's grown even more so. And that's part of what I enjoy so much about our show.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was going to say. It's like the big difference I would say is at the desk, right? And
Yeah.
it's not just you being a woman, but we have, a diverse set of hosts now, and
Right.
not just one person delivering the news every night. Whatever, obviously, we've had different um, types of hosts at the desk, but Desi is the first woman to be there, and that is the big difference. Is that, and there's jokes the audience will accept from her, and there's jokes that they would only accept them from Jordan, and like
Yeah.
there are jokes Ronnie can tell that Desi can't, but also Jordan can't. So like the cool thing I think that's evolved over time is that we can tell jokes from that are acceptable for the audience to laugh at from a woman, and we formerly wouldn't have been telling those jokes.
Right.
Well, Jen,
Because
a similar question for you. So you're one of the most senior women in late night now, and running a show in a genre that's historically been dominated by men, both on camera and in the room. So what's changed structurally at The Daily Show because you're the one in charge? Or has there been any structural changes?
I mean, there's been massive structural changes over the 28 years that I've been there. I love to
Since you've been
reorg.
in charge, I guess.
I love to reorg. I love to rename departments. Everyone at the show wants to kill me. I'm constantly like, now your team is called this. But I just like to give out nicknames. But I would say like, we try and get more voices in every room. I think that is partially a decision that was made intentionally, but also I think the world changed in the last 28 years a lot, right? There's a lot more access to people sending their resume in, or more people have representatives and agents and managers, and so we get more applicants for positions, which is so nice. But I would say there's always been but hopefully we're just trying to find the best person for every job, and usually that means that you have a diverse makeup of people,
Right.
and like Desi said, it makes every script stronger because we sit there and you can argue. I mean, we have different genders, different races, different socioeconomic backgrounds,
Different political
political
viewpoints.
ideas. Yeah, that's what and I think that those conversations couldn't happen if you had all one kind of person, or they could, but they get you to one first thought joke every time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the audience gets a lot of its news literacy from shows like this now, and from clicking on that on Instagram or wherever. So whether that was ever the intention or not, does that responsibility ever weigh on you and how a piece gets written?
I'll let you go first, Jen.
No, only in that we, like I said earlier, it weighs on us in that we want to make sure that everything is factually accurate and backing it up, and also calling out hypocrisy on both sides, either side. It truly making sure it's balanced in a way, but also factual. And that is, it was never intended to be people's sole source of news. But now I'm like, we fact check, and we don't just put out first thought,
Right.
headlines and clickbait.
It's
We
important.
spend the day, making sure that it's accurate.
Yeah.
I guess it's okay that people get their news from us.
Yeah, and I think that's super important because sometimes jokes are the only way to get it to an audience, and to
Yeah.
certain people in an audience, and how they can metabolize the information.
Yeah.
So I think it's really wonderful to know that you do a lot of fact checking and
Yeah.
make sure you take that responsibility.
I think we used to kind of roll our eyes and be like, no, don't trust us to do that. Don't get your news from us. Trust real news sources. But as time has gone on and the whole media landscape has changed so much, I have more of an understanding of why people do want to get their news from us, because we help it go down a little easier with some humor, or they trust us to tell the truth. And I always cite this as the moment that I kind of knew that The Daily Show cared about fact checking and telling the truth. There was a time that when you're a correspondent and you film a field piece, sometimes you can go and sit in the edit and be part of the process. And I remember interviewing someone, and the producer who was producing the piece was kind of new at the time. And I asked a hard question to someone, man on the street style, and they took a minute to answer. But in the edit, the producer wanted to build in a longer beat before the person could respond as kind of a gotcha moment. And I remember the head of the department came in to screen this piece, and he watched it and he said, "Did you build in time there before that woman responded?" And the editor said, "Yeah, the producer wanted to add a little more time." And he said, "We don't do that here." And I was like, "Oh shit, okay." So we do a lot for comedic effect, but that told me, okay, we do try as best as we can to tell the truth and not take things out of context.
That's really amazing. All right, my last question, and we touched on this a bit, but if The Daily Show wins in September, and I'll be voting for it, so
Thank you.
what does that trophy actually represent to the two of you? The season, the team, or something bigger about where the show and its impact on culture?
Always the team. I mean, it really is like a testament to how much people put their heart and soul into that place. But it means still being relevant, still being enjoyable to people still holding it to a high standard. I think it always feels nice for your peers, especially, to look at the show and say, wow, this show is still at the top of its game.
I was going to say ego, that it just mostly it feels good in my ego, all of our
I just want you to
egos.
be honest, Desi.
Yeah, thank you.
That's what I'm looking for.
Look,
Yes.
you want me to fact check? I'm fact checking. No, I think exactly what Jen said. I came up watching The Daily Show. I watched John and all the correspondents religiously. I have so much reverence and respect for the history of the show. So to know that we're still resonating with our audience in some way and being supported by our peers and our colleagues means the world.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think especially in a time when late night is being challenged, is it whether it be politically or by just social media, having so many different platforms and so many places where people are making video content, and people there are need for it. And I think that it just shows that there is this like love for a central point of view, and for people to go and get their news with jokes from a certain place, and to still be getting that recognition after so many years is really, really a testament to the team.
Well, thank you both for joining us. You're amazing, and I'm wishing you luck in September.
Thank
And it was
you.
nice to meet you both.